Broke a toe family, much ahava. Okay, I wanted to come in and I wanted to go ahead and give a couple of the footnotes from my book on what abandonment is so that we can come to expose the hidden strong man in our lives, okay? Because Yahusha said, how can a man enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods unless he first bind the strong man? Right? Now, how can you bind a strong man if you don't acknowledge or you don't have the knowledge or information on what strong man is in your life? Okay? So, I wanted to hit you with that scripture that is Matthew 12:29 and also Mark 3 verse 27. Okay, so in order to bind this hidden strong man, first we have to acknowledge and find out who he is and what characteristics he carry, right? And some of the characteristics that are carried in abandonment starts from our youth experiences, right? So sometimes in our youth experiences, according to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 54 to 57, it starts off with talking about a father being the father, or the man that is tender among you would have an evil eye towards his brother, towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children in which he shall leave. Okay, and also, you know, going down to like 56, we also can see that the tender and delicate woman that is among you shall have an evil eye towards her husband and towards her young ones, right? Going into 57 states that, you know, these are the young ones that come between her feet. Okay, so when it comes down to abandonment, it is something that is a deep emotional wound that can't be seen. You know, it can come from being rejected, you know, or feeling a sense of rejection. So if you have been raised up in a single parent household, your sense of rejection from your father or a sense of rejection from your mother, right? Or if both parents did not raise you and you were raised by grandparents, aunties, uncles, if you were raised up in foster care, you have a sense of rejection and a sense of abandonment that is there, right? And with that sense of abandonment that is there, we would tend to cover it up by fulfilling those voids and that emptiness with other things, you know, like grabbing hold to, you know, our friends, grabbing hold to, you know, people that are close to us, relatives, and it doesn't matter what they're into. Just because you can grab hold to them, you will grab hold to them, okay? And in my case, I grabbed hold to the streets as a young man because it seemed as if the streets had more love for me than my own loved ones did. You know, I did speak in a video yesterday, you know, bringing out the fact that, you know, my father rejected me and said that I wasn't his son. Then my mom and my stepfather separating, which gave me a sense of abandonment because I felt as if I wasn't good enough to have two parents. I wasn't good enough to have two people in the household to love me and to care for me, which in turn put me in a position where my mother was constantly working because she was a nurse. So being that she was a nurse, she spent very little time at home, which left me at home, you know, to tend to my brothers and my sisters. And there was really, you know, you have babysitters or whatever, but those babysitters are really not there in your face. Or you have family members, they're not in your face. They're not giving you the compassion and care that you need, right? They were busy doing their own thing. So as a young man, I had to fulfill that emptiness or that void by, you know, gathering myself around people, no matter what they were doing, as long as they showed me some sense of love, some sense of compassion, some sense of what you or what I as a young man would have considered to be love or attention, you know, we would gravitate to those things. Okay. And that is where abandonment starts, because it is that sense of rejection, that sense of feeling unwanted. It is that sense of loss. It is a void that is deep within us, and we cover it up. You can even have, like myself, my mom passed away when I was a young man, and that put me in a place that I was abandoned by my mother. So I kind of like had a very deep rejection towards my mother, right? Or I had a deep hatred, let me say, right? Because I was upset, and any kid or any person that is going through so much grief would have that sense of rejection, will feel that sense of rejection, and that sense of grief would cause us or characterize us to be different individuals than what we normally would be. So I would cover up my pain by causing other people pain. I would cover up my pain by rejecting other people. I would cover up my pain by laughing and joking at other people. I would cover up my pain by wanting to fight and wanting to argue and wanting to, put people through difficulties, and it was all stemmed from the fact that I felt abandoned, I felt left, I felt beat down and downtrodden, right? But until Yahuwah revealed it to me and showed it to me, even just looking at my own children, where, I spent a lot of time out of the household and relationships did not work because I was the one who caused and inflicted the pain, on their mothers, by rejecting them, by not being in the household, by, expressing my pains and thinking that I was showing love, but I really wasn't showing any love, right? Because we don't know what love is until we can read through the scriptures and see what true love is, right? And I wasn't bearing all things. I wasn't hoping in all things, and I wasn't trusting in all things, right? So, and I sure enough wasn't being responsible. And that is where, I understand that part of the curse that I have placed, not just received from myself, but also I have passed it down unto my children, where they would feel the sense of abandonment themselves, because guess what? Dad wasn't in the household. But even though they were able to come to my house, spend time with me, it still was like a sense of abandonment, because they feel like, they should have had two parents in the household, because it was two parents that made them, but there was a separation. And that same separation I felt myself, and I didn't come to the conclusion of that situation until recently, when it was revealed to me. Okay, so my words for today is Psalms 27 verse 10. Though my mother and father forsake me, Yahuwah would never forsake nor leave me. There's another scripture that Yahusha made a statement of, is that a man's foes should be those of his own house. So that would be the parallel to a father having an evil eye towards his wife, towards his brother, and towards the remnant of his children. And that would also cover the mother having an evil eye towards her husband and towards the remnant of her children, in which she shall leave. Okay, that would cover that, because that would be, your own household inflicting certain pains that normally with a two-parent household and a loving household and a compassionate household that you would not receive. So I just wanted to come in, and I wanted to go through this. I will be coming in and continue to go through this abandonment, and that way we can heal and grow together in Yahuwah's presence. Shalom.